Hey, good morning. It's about just before 10 a.m. and I'm off on a very special task this morning. I wrote a speech for and about Kenji, which I will deliver during the wedding ceremony. And my former Japanese teacher, Rieko, kindly offered to translate it into Japanese so I can do it in both of our languages. And so I'm off to meet her and go over the translation that she's made and do some last minute, revisions based on tricky slang or casual expressions I've used that she wasn't quite sure about. My video just got cut off. I'm so lucky that I noticed that it stopped recording because I got a YouTube comment. Does that actually cut off the video making function? I was a little shocked. He's really pissed off if I'd gone on for 10 more minutes and didn't notice. Anyway, so that's where I'm off to this morning, and otherwise, that's my only real job today. I'm not teaching, so I'm going to be reading up a storm, and then probably it would be a great idea to read and listen to as much as possible today, because probably Saturday and Sunday are going to be more fixated, understandably so, on getting ready to leave the country on Tuesday. So this morning I started this one, Ties. Can you see that? Ties by Domenico Starnoni. And I have to say that I didn't like the way it started, but I think it's not going to be a big problem. It starts out in third person, where the wife is speaking, narratively speaking to you, her husband, who has just left her. And I find that really annoying to read, the third person perspective. It's just hard to relax into the story. I don't know why, but how do you feel about that? I just think it's just... But I flipped ahead, and it doesn't last very long, and then it seems to be, whether it's still a first-person narrative, she's not addressing the whole novel to you, because that just, I find it exhausting and not satisfying. I don't enjoy third-person, second-person narratives. I hope I've been saying second person, because I meant second-person point of view. I don't like it. But it's only probably a few more pages and then we're back into just first person, I think, or was it third person? Anyway, it's not second person for the bulk of the novel, so I'll be okay. And then I listened to, the chapters are really short, so I listened to 4 or 5 chapters of R.O. Kwan's The Adversaries? The Adversaries? No, what is it? What is it? Oh, The Incendiaries. The Incendiaries. Good. It's really, it starts out really good. It's a really good audio narration. Sexy man's voice doing the narration. Korean American, I'm assuming. And don't know what to make of the story yet, but it's certainly impressed me from the get-go. And yeah, I think I'll save some more thoughts. So I'm certainly thought more about the parcel, but I'm not going to try and make a comment while I'm walking down the street this morning. It's not quite as hot as it was yesterday, at least not so far, so that's good. And I'm in a great mood. I just talked to my mom, talking about the wedding details, getting pretty excited. That's all for now.
The doors on the left side will open. Please change here for the Chuo line, the Shonan Shinjuku line, the Saikyo line, the Odachi line, the Keio line, the Marunouchi subway line, the Shinjuku subway line, and the Oedo subway line.
Fucking loud. I don't know where I am. Hey, well, I've met Rieko. She's done a lovely translation. She's going to do a few touch-ups, and we practiced my pronunciation. Some of the long words are tricky. I can get my tongue around them, but they're very intimidating when they're written out as one long word. I'm going to have to do a lot of practicing. Anyway, I didn't get a seat the whole way. 45 minutes standing on various trains, and now I finally got a seat here on the one to my old neighborhood, Sasazuka, where I have to run some errands, i.e. pick up some wine for the weekend. And I'm going to reward myself for all that I've done. I got the bus tickets, and I haven't sat down until 10 seconds ago. So I'm going to go for a nice steak lunch. I'm having a 300-gram steak. I'm hungry. Hey guys, well, I actually had some more outdoor footage filmed, but for some reason there was no sound when I played it back, so I don't know what happened with my new portable mic, whether I didn't plug it all the way in, which caused no sound to record. It was weird, so I have to check that out. But, oh, I better check to make sure this is recording. Anyway, so I nattered at you waiting at a bus stop near Sasazuka after my lunch. So a few things, I'm still in a great mood, but a few things kind of didn't go so well. That steak wasn't very good for being a $20 steak, and I've had a delicious steak for the same price at another chain steak restaurant in Tokyo just about a week ago. So this one didn't measure up, and I actually don't think it was a 300-gram steak. I think I got ripped off, and then it was so hot. And then I made this lovely check-in telling you all my news, and the audio was gone. Didn't record, so I have to do that again. So I'm happy to do it again, I guess. But anyway, this was a bail for me. I just wasn't into it at all. I spoke to you this morning about that I didn't like the second person. I kept saying third person, but the second person narration. But really, I couldn't stand the woman. Her husband left her, and I couldn't say I blamed him. I mean, that's flippant. I don't want to be flippant. She probably had lots to complain about, but I couldn't stand her. So I said this morning I just had to get past that first 30 pages or whatever of second person narration, but I already couldn't stand her. So, and then I don't usually read the back cover to find out what the book's about. And this is the story of a marriage. And so it opens with the marriage dissolving and then goes back to trace what happened. That is not a Sean book, or at least not right now. Is it because I'm getting married next week that's a turn off? I don't think so. Maybe. Could be. Maybe I'll try this again, because the writing was certainly fine. It certainly passed the page 112 test with flying colors, but I don't want to read about... I don't want to find out a marriage dissolves and then spend 150 pages finding out why. That's not interesting to me. But I'm a mood reader. Maybe it would be very interesting to me another day. But I bailed. And instead, I have picked up, I think it's a 1931 novel on Scribd as an ebook called Boy by James Hanley. And it's a gay novel. I don't know how gay it gets, but it's called a classic of gay literature. William Faulkner admired it. And it was censored for many years as being obscene. So I don't know if there's a pederastic theme, because it opens kind of in a Dickensian way. This poor kid, he's 12 years old. He tells his teacher that his dad's going to pull him out of school because they can't afford to keep him in school. or they need him at home to work. I was a little bit confused about which of those or both of those were the reasons, but it's certainly the writing is really good. So kind of fell into that one. So that is a 200-page novel that I will read this weekend alongside the R.O. Kwan. I've only read another chapter of the Kwan, listened to it on audio, and it's good. Yeah, I still don't know what I really think about the writing's. It's interesting how differently you judge the writing when you're listening as compared to reading, but I am consciously trying to pay attention to the prose as I listen. It is well written, but I don't have enough of a sense of the story. It's a campus novel, which is not my usual thing, but this one, so far, so good. And I listened to about another hour of The Lord of the Flies, so I may finish that today. And it's just, oh my God, I love it. But it's really like a nostalgic, that novel, I think I read it twice. I think I studied it in high school and then again at university. I believe those are the 2 times that I read it. Both of them were for academic reasons, but it's imprinted in me. So I'm remembering parts of it. Now the thing about the dead parachutist on the mountain, his body's blowing up and down, I remember that as being such a powerful center of the novel, really thematically and whatnot. But I didn't remember that we, the reader, find out about him before the boys do. So wondering why Golding did that. So that's in the back of my mind as I finish listening to the novel. But loving it, and this is the only Golding I've read. Have you guys read any other William Golding? What would you recommend that I try? Because his writing is beautiful. I'm going to keep reading and making videos and a few more pre-wedding little messages to write or answer, and just have a lovely afternoon. Damn it, I can't keep the name of that candy in my head. I keep having to type it in. But that Indian candy is coming in a few hours too. So at that time, I will give you some more thoughts on the parcel. Talk to you. And so yeah, it's 35 degrees out there. I won't be making any more outdoor videos today unless the temperature drops a lot. All right, here I am with my final installment for today. What is this, day 5? Yeah, day 5. Another great reading day, although I did slough off quite a bit in late afternoon. I was doing other stuff, including napping, but you know, my mind is starting to get swamped with all of the preparations for the other exciting thing going on in my life besides BookTubeAthon. But in the meantime, I have this. What is it called? Gulab Jamun. It says it should be microwaved, and then it said it should be refrigerated. So do you guys have any other advice? This came from Amazon today. It's like a large quantity. Maybe this will be my dinner. Just a few more thoughts on this wonderful novel, The Parcel by Anosh Irani. I'll put a link in the show notes to a 2 or 3 minute introduction that the author gives on YouTube. I think it's the Canadian Writers Trust. But I'll put that link in the show notes because it's wonderful. His energy is really pleasant if you watch this video, and he introduces the novel and talks about how he grew up near this red light district in Bombay and became obsessed at a very early age by the hijra and the other sex workers in this ghetto. So please watch that. I'll still be here. Go and come back. The character of Madhu, the hijra character and retired sex worker, and her life as a hijra and her family life was so compelling from the beginning that I was hooked. But what pulled me in the deepest was, and this is what Irani talks about on that video, and it's on the synopsis, so I'm not telling tales out of school or giving you any spoilers, to say that she's been pulled out of retirement to train one more child prostitute. So the child trafficking system has deposited one more 10-year-old girl at the local brothel, and we have come to see that brothel's madam with a lot of respect because of her tough life, and then she conscripts Madhu, the retired hijra sex worker, to train one more child prostitute. Many years before, Madhu had intervened in the incredibly violent and brutal process of converting a 10-year-old trafficked girl into a prostitute to make it more humane. Well, that's a very slippery relative thing. She did make it more humane, but it's kind of like making execution more humane. I mean, it's and that's what's at work in this novel. The morality and the moral tension and confrontation that this novel pulls you, the reader, through is what makes it just electric. And it's the relationship that Madhu has with this young girl who part of which is she's known as the parcel in the parlance of the brothel and the system, but she has her own name and Madhu gives her a new name, and that's a big part of it. And that resonates in a really heartrending way with Madhu's own journey as a hijra. But it's the relationship between those two and what they pull out of each other, and the self-realization that Madhu undergoes bit by bit, or on again, off again, one step forward, two steps back, that makes this an incredibly powerful novel. I will never forget this novel. And that's maybe the last comment, other than just say it's a flawed novel. I felt that the way that Madhu would talk to herself, the way that the novel would kind of portray her self-dialogue, in spite of this being an incredibly gritty, heartbreaking novel, the way that she talked to herself sometimes slipped into psychology speak or new age kind of stuff, and it was just a little bit of a dog's breakfast at times. But as I said last night, none of that swayed me in my deep, abiding love for the story that's told here. It's just unforgettable. So enough about that. The last thing that I will say, the last thing about this will be the gulab jamun. Hey, well, I can't wait anymore. I'm so excited to try these gulab matum. Did I get it right? I just went and looked it up one more time, but I'm terrible. But sorry. But as I've been microwaving it, I've been licking my fingers. I think this is going to be an orgasm. An orgasmic experience. Kenji's working late, so I can't wait anymore. Here it is. Looks just like the pictures, hey? The sauce is amazing. Oh my. Yeah, this is not false advertising. So before I take the first bite, because I think it's a little hot, this is not a spoiler, but the reason that Matum meets his Guru Mai is because his father, who hates him or is ashamed of him because he's so feminine, he sends him out one day to buy these sweets. I just forgotten the name again. His father sends him out to buy these sweets, gulab jamun, and so he goes. The child goes out to Madhu, goes out to buy them, and at that candy shop, he meets his Guru Mai, who is referred to only by that moniker, Guru Mai, for the rest of the novel. And Guru Mai is the den mother for the Hijra house. She also loves this sweet, with the name of which has already gone out of my head. I just went and checked it in the refrigerator, but it's gone. And now, so it's a really, and she enjoys this sweet for the rest of her life, which Madhu shares with her. So there's a connection, deep connection between Madhu's father, who loves this sweet, and Madhu's new father, the den mother, Gurumai. It all revolves around this sweet, and I am now about to try it for the first time in my life. This is the most exciting YouTube moment on my channel. Kenji's missing out. Oh. Oh. Oh, that's something very special. That is so sweet. I don't know if Kenji will like it. Maybe it's too sweet for him, but oh my God. I was gonna go out and get groceries to make dinner tonight, but in terms of the experience of eating it, it's a little bit like, and the sweetness, it's a little bit like baklava, and that is a high praise from me. Oof. The sauce is just good. Okay, I'm not gonna eat the rest on camera. I think I've made a glutton of myself enough already. If you haven't tried this, the name's gone out of my head. I'm so embarrassed, but trust me, I've eaten 1.5 of these 3. By the time I'm finished, I will never forget the name of this again because it's amazing. Sorry, I need to have another orgasm for the last half. It's just incredible. This is the syrup. Oh. It's amazing. There we go. Now I can go back to work.